Welcome to Netflix, your quick stop for movie recaps. Get all the highlights and mind-blowing twists in just minutes. Our movie begins with Daryl, a university student responsible for introducing new students to his university and everything in it. He earns money from these tours because he needs every dollar he can gather from anywhere, as he supports his mother and siblings. Among his university activities is delivering parcels to departments. During one of his tours, he delivers a package to a professor in the neuropsychology department. When Daryl enters the lab, he finds Dr. Whedon conducting experiments on animals. One of these experiments involves creating a glowing effervescent substance in the dark. After delivering the package, Daryl returns to his group to continue showing them around the university, finishing quickly to take the next group, and so on. At the end of the day, he returns to his dorm exhausted. His mother calls to check on him and asks about his promised job at the stock exchange, saying he should strive for a career he loves that can provide more money. She also asks him for money to pay the gas bill, or it will be cut off. He adds the bill amount to his mounting expenses, totaling $2,774. Before ending the call, he reassures her that he is the ideal candidate for the stock exchange job and tells her not to worry. After the call, he receives a phone call from the university's finance office, reminding him of his unpaid tuition fees. He impersonates his mother, claiming Daryl has passed away and cannot pay, forcing the employee to hang up. The next day, Daryl searches for any legitimate way to earn money. One option he tries is donating blood for money. But donors are only allowed to donate once a month. Ignoring the rules, Daryl donates multiple times in one day by changing his appearance and name each time. Eventually, he faints from exhaustion. He then visits a barber to sell his hair for wigs. But the barber refuses as his hair is too short. Daryl also works in the university cafeteria, where he encounters his annoying rival, Scott, who is also vying for the stock exchange job. Scott boasts about being the top candidate, especially since he is the president of the student club and his father is the manager of the city's third largest bank. Daryl ignores Scott, focusing instead on Janice, a classmate he admires but lacks the courage to express his feelings to. During a meeting for students applying to the stock exchange job, Professor Ronald, the company director, announces that only one student will be chosen each year as an analyst. Daryl hopes to be that student. Later, Daryl begs the hockey coach to let him join the team, believing sports participation will boost his academic profile. With a friend's recommendation, he joins as a goalie but performs poorly. After the game, Daryl notices an advertisement by Dr. Whedon seeking participants for an experiment, offering good money. He visits the lab to learn more. Dr. Whedon's assistant informs the group that the experiment has only been tested on rats, which survived, but there are side effects like nausea and headaches. Everyone except Daryl leaves, as he falls asleep during her explanation and misses the warnings. He agrees to participate, unaware of the risks. Dr. Whedon explains that the drug is designed to enhance sensory abilities tenfold. He warns Daryl to take exactly 6 milliliters via injection before sleep each day, not exceeding the dosage. In return, Daryl will receive $3,000. Excited about the money, Daryl agrees to the terms. That evening, he attends a university club party to socialize. But Scott mocks him and kicks him out for not being a member. Daryl returns home, notices the glowing drug in his bag, and takes his first dose before sleeping, hoping it will help him with an important exam the next day. The next morning, Daryl feels something is off. His senses are heightened to the point where he hears the scratching of a pen on paper, the ticking of nearby clocks, and smells blending together, making it impossible to concentrate on the exam. Frustrated, he lashes out at classmates, leading the professor to expel him from the exam room. Daryl rushes to Dr. Whedon, explaining what happened and complaining of intense itching. The doctor assures him these are natural side effects that will subside as his body adjusts. Determined, Daryl returns home to train his enhanced senses and regain control. However, he learns he has been disqualified from the stock exchange job due to his exam behavior. Daryl practices using his heightened senses, eventually mastering them as the doctor advised. At a university party celebrating the 5 finalists for the stock exchange job, Daryl works as a waiter, disheartened that he lost his chance. He introduces himself to Mr. Ronald, who remembers him from the earlier presentation. While serving food and drinks, Daryl overhears Ronald and Scott discussing a topic. He joins the conversation, impressing Ronald with his knowledge. Spotting a stock market magazine nearby, Daryl memorizes its contents and returns to Ronald, demonstrating his expertise. Everyone tests him, and he succeeds in the test due to Daryl's extraordinary eyesight, and at the end of the evening, Ronald tells him that he has become the 6th qualifier due to his merit. Daryl goes to the doctor and thanks him for his drug. After undergoing tests, the doctor is pleased with the results of his drug but warns him that the components of the drug will have adverse effects, leading to addiction to power and the beginning of destruction. The next day, Daryl goes to a party at the university club, knowing that Mr. Ronald will be there. He tries to prevent Ronald from throwing him out as he did last time, but Ronald enters because he is a key member of the club and grants Daryl membership because he admires him. Daryl notices Janice, whom he admires, and sees her going to adjust her makeup. Using his extraordinary hearing, he learns that she is searching for her dream man and that no one at the party appeals to her. He waits for her to come out to greet her but finds that she has left the party. He offers to take her home and talks about himself as an ambitious young man who wants to succeed in life and relies on himself. He wins Janice over until they reach her home and agrees with her to go out together the next day. The next day, Daryl goes to the hockey coach and asks for another chance to play. Thanks to his extraordinary eyesight and hearing, he manages to block all the shots that come his way, impressing the coach with his performance. He participates in his first official University League match and is the reason for his team's first victory. The following day, he attends a meeting held by Ronald with the qualifiers. He listens to the topics Ronald likes to discuss to gather more information, thus preparing himself to talk about anything Ronald likes. Daryl impresses Ronald with his extensive knowledge and convinces him with his words. Ronald gives him front row tickets to a basketball game and tells him that a board member will be present, advising him to try to impress him as it will be very beneficial for his appointment. That night, Daryl prepares a romantic dinner for Janice at his home, and they enjoy a lovely time together. He introduces her to his mother and the family he supports. Daryl continues taking the drug but increases the dose on his own out of greed for more power. The next morning, he wakes up with blurred vision and is unable to move his side for the entire day. He immediately goes to the doctor and confesses to his mistake. The doctor explains that the overdose has caused his senses to malfunction, leaving him with only 4 functioning senses at a time. The effects will wear off completely in about 3 days, and he advises Daryl to stay in bed and avoid going anywhere. However, Daryl cannot heed the advice because he has a basketball game he must attend with Ronald. At the game, Ronald is with his colleague, who will help choose the successful candidate for the appointment. Daryl goes to get them drinks, but on his way back, he loses his sight and cannot see ahead. Instead of sitting in his place, he ends up sitting next to the players and keeps making mistakes, annoying the team until he gets hit. Ronald becomes upset with him and advises him to be at his best performance during the hockey match and not repeat today's behavior. Daryl returns home and finds Janice's friend visiting him because she admires him. She tries to get close to him, but at that moment, he loses all movement and control over his body. The girl interprets this as Daryl not wanting her and leaves, only to run into Janice on her way out. Janice assumes Daryl has betrayed her and confronts him, hitting him as punishment. Daryl remains on the floor until the next day, which is the day of his hockey match. During the hockey match, Daryl loses his sight while standing at the goal. Instead of blocking the opponent's shots, he attacks his own teammates and stands behind the goal instead of in front of it. He gets disqualified from playing hockey and tries to fix everything that has gone wrong in his life. The first person he tries to reconcile with is Janice. He goes to her house, and Ronald answers the door. Since Daryl cannot see who is in front of him, he starts confessing his love for Janice, saying he cannot live without her. He tries to hug Ronald forcefully until Janice comes out of the bathroom. Daryl regains his sight and is confused about why Ronald is in her house. Janice explains that Ronald is her father and that she needs to talk to Daryl privately. She takes him outside the apartment and tells him that she feels deceived by him because she thought he was different from other guys and admired his ambitions. Daryl explains that his life has been chaotic lately and asks her to believe that he will improve soon. However, she does not believe him and leaves him alone, locking her. The morning of the test arrives, and each candidate heads to the exam venue. On his way to the institution where the test is being held, Daryl loses his sight again and keeps bumping into people around him to make it on time. He collides with a pickpocket, who, upon realizing Daryl's vulnerability, attacks him and steals his suit, leaving him with only his socks. Daryl continues walking, bumping into everything, until he reaches a store selling used suits. With $50 hidden in his sock, he asks for any suit he can afford. The shopkeeper gives him a strange suit. Daryl wears it and heads to the company bathroom, unable to see anything around him, and enters the test room wearing the odd suit. The test is held in a special hall, and Daryl's mother attends. All 5 candidates are dressed in classic suits except for Daryl, who is wearing a colorful one. The test begins, and questions are asked. One by one, the candidates are eliminated until a question comes up that Daryl can answer. He succeeds in the test and gets the job. However, at that moment, he decides to confess the truth. He tells them that he cheated to reach this stage but that all his answers in the test were due to his hard work and studying. He admits to using a drug that helped him focus. The board of directors holds a meeting and decides to cancel his appointment entirely. However, Ronald tells Daryl that at the beginning of his life, he started in the mail department of the institution. He was assured that if he kept up his hard work, he would become an analyst, as was said a year ago. The mail job was available to him with a good salary. Daryl and his family were happy that he was also employed at the institution. Indeed, a year later, a celebration was held for Daryl for being appointed as an analyst in the company, as he had hoped. He was accompanied by Janice, his girlfriend, who supported him with all her energy because she truly loved him. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification button so you never miss an updates. See you in the next video.